Hey everybody. A little different rant this time, a little less serious maybe, because I want to rant about the NBA. As you maybe could hear in a lot of videos, I love basketball, love the NBA. It's getting a bit less now, but I love the NBA. And of course, you got to talk about what is your all-time starting five. And I really I don't know, I just like this barbershop kind of talk, So I was like, I got to throw my 2 cents, 5 cents, I don't know how many cents. I got to put some sense in this. Because it's very interesting if you think about it. If you don't think about what is your all-time five in the sense of let's just list the top players at every position, best point guard, best shooting guard, best small forward, best power forward, etc. But if you actually have to think about a starting five that is actually a team that could actually function as a team, right? It's even more interesting if you do a full team, 12 people, but what if you actually had to make a team? So I kind of took that challenge, and I got a couple ways I want to go at it. So first, I just got I had just a couple ideas of how I make my starting five and what does it lean towards. So I tried to make my most balanced, which is probably I guess maybe your strongest stuff, the all-time starting five. But then I think, okay, but what if I want to lean offense? What is the best offensive top five, the best defensive top five? And I don't mean the top five defenders. I mean the best all-time team that's leaning towards defense. So why do I say that? I have kind of a qualifications I have here. It's for somebody to be on the team, he has to have at least an MVP or a Finals MVP. And I actually first limited it to an MVP and a Finals MVP. So that means you were absolutely dominant just as a player in a season. If you want a regular season MVP, you have to be very dominant to be able to get that in the season, to be the best in the NBA, and have some form of team success usually. So you were winning, but then your Finals MVP means you also won a championship, and you were the best player on that team, right? So, and not just in one. And if you have both, that means it's not just one great run in the playoffs. It means you were just an all-around great player. So I'm still kind of doubting because there's a couple people that are kind of getting off my list that I would want maybe in my top fives, but at least that, and I'll make some exceptions here and there. So and then the second thing I'm going to do is actually look at the top 5 best teams. Just pulled some lists somewhere. Top 5 best teams ever in the NBA, and then see if you can use a team as constructed and then replace the non-star pieces with superstars, but superstars that would fit that role as well. That would do that role, but maybe better. So let's see. Well, let's just start. I just want to talk basketball for a while. Okay, so what I came up with, and this was really hard, my team A, so my balanced team. Shooting guards, no. Shooting guard is the easiest position to fill. Michael Jordan, of course. I got Michael Jordan at shooting guard. I'll go with the non-controversial stuff first. I got Michael Jordan at shooting guard. I got LeBron James at small forward. I got Larry Bird at power forward. That's already maybe a little bit controversial. I don't know. And I got, at my one is that decision, am I going to use Magic Johnson or am I going to use Steph Curry? I actually thought about Oscar Robertson. Oscar Robertson actually never won a Finals MVP and had quite a drop-off in the playoffs. I saw his numbers kind of dip. He's probably the better defender than Magic. So Oscar Robertson would actually be very interesting. But if I kind of limit myself to MVP, Finals MVPs, it got to be Magic Johnson, Steph Curry. Well, Magic Johnson to me is the better player and the greater player. Clearly. I mean, the difference between Steph and everybody was talking when Steph won his first Finals MVP. Has he passed Magic? I'm doesn't Magic have 3 Finals MVPs? 5 rings? How has he passed Magic? The first time he had a Finals MVP, he has 4 championships, and it's the first time he is the definitively best player. Although that first one with Andre Iguodala, everybody knows. Yeah. I think Steph should have probably got it. But anyway, he would still be a Finals MVP short. So for me, Magic Johnson is the better player. More accomplished player. I think actually way more accomplished. Also, if you look at those first team NBA, all that type of stuff. But, and this is where you kind of get, when you think about really constructing a team, I look at mold of players. like what type of mold is a player. Like LeBron James and Magic Johnson are kind of the same mold of players. I would say Magic is probably the better floor general, but LeBron does a lot of what Magic does, plus some, right? Like plus some, a lot more athletic. He's a little smaller, but I mean LeBron James does better scorer probably. Although Magic could score, but LeBron James is, I would say, is clearly the better scorer. So Magic the better post-up player probably. So that's really hard. Like when you get like, already got one of those on my team. How could two of those work, right? And when I look at that team, I'm like, you got Michael Jordan, who can just catch and shoot. I mean, he could be ball dominant, but Jordan showed, I think, in the Triangle Singer system, he didn't have to be that ball dominant to be successful. He could function within an offense. You got Larry Bird, I am not worried about at all. Like he can catch and shoot, he can go move the ball. He'll do all the little things as well as a superstar. So, but if you have LeBron James, and if we're going to add a dominant center, you need some space. So that's why I'm leaning towards Steph Curry, although having Magic at the 1 would make for a pretty big team as well, like 6'10". You would have a lot of kind of freak of nature, kind of Magic Johnson, LeBron James, Michael Jordan. But my first instinct was to go with Steph. Defensively, you still have Michael and LeBron in the perimeter. Larry Bird is still a good defender. I mean, he's not as mobile, like, so that's why I'm having him at power forward. Like, if you would guard power forwards, I think you do a lot better than if you put him, especially if you think about it. That's maybe another thing I was talking about. This team has to function in all eras, right? Like in all eras or in most eras, all eras. I would say all eras, maybe not the George Mikan pre-shot clock days, but I would say since the three-point line, technically before the three-point line, I would take this team as well, right? Like Steph Curry, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Larry Bird, and now we come to center, which is really hard because you got like a lot of great centers, but what you also have is very like the difficulty of translating the game before the three-point line and like that really old school game. Because I first had Wilt Chamberlain there, almost because I was like, how could you not have Wilt Chamberlain, right? Like, I mean, he had 4 MVPs while nobody wanted to give him an MVP because he was just completely dominating everyone. I think if everybody was honest in the amount of MVPs he would have gotten, it would have just racked up like crazy. But people were jealous of him. I mean, I wasn't alive back then, but kind of what I read and what I kind of researched about him, he was just such an exceptional athlete. You'll hear like Bill Russell was, people say the superior defender, but if I saw pictures of what Will can do, like blocking somebody like his head above the rim, like he was incredibly athletic for like a 7-footer, and just the thing he did, he was just kind of playing with the game. So I had Wilt Chamberlain here, but then there was another thing that I was thinking about, like about having a functioning team. Steph Curry, low maintenance. Larry Bird, low maintenance, I would say. LeBron James, kind of drama queen, but it'll be like that passive aggressive. But you have Michael and Larry on the team. So you got 2 alphas. I think Larry is an alpha, but embraces team basketball so well that I wouldn't be afraid of him like coexisting with somebody like Michael Jordan, even though they're like taking the last shot's probably got to be a thing. But you give the ball to LeBron James because he likes to pass in the final minutes anyway. Like, so you can pass to Michael, Larry, or Steph. So I was thinking like if we put Wilt here, you do have another uber alpha here. So purely like from a talent perspective, to have LeBron basically be the point guard, set the table between Steph Curry, Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, and then Wilt Chamberlain, like to have like a couple of the best scorers ever on that team and just kind of pick. Yeah, I could see that working. I could see that working. Oh, my laptop's overheating a little bit. This sun is crazy. So, yeah, but I actually was also leaning towards Hakeem Olajuwon, and I was thinking about, okay, who is super dominant, both ends of the ball? Because that's, again, Larry Bird, decent defender. If I got a prime LeBron James, because LeBron James now in the last couple of years is just preserving energy. That's kind of like a hard thing when I have LeBron. I have to deny. I can't deny like his greatness. I got to do another video about like greatest of all time. But with LeBron, his attitude, I know he wasn't like that in his prime, but like the stuff he does, just coasting. Like I never seen someone like Larry Bird or Michael Jordan do that shit, you know, like. But I have Steph, so we got to cover up for Steph. So if you have Wilt, yeah, okay, Wilt's gonna cover up for a lot of stuff. But Hakeem Olajuwon was versatile in a way, like it's very hard to picture. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody like Wilt, if he would grow up in our age, that he'd be as dominant defensively like as it. I mean, he was so athletic, right? Like Hakeem Olajuwon, but like the footwork of Olajuwon defensively and offensively, Olajuwon feels like another low maintenance superstar. So I actually had Hakeem here simply because, again, if this would have to translate to the modern era, it felt like for him, I was sure that he would be able to translate the most to guarding like these little guards on the perimeter to switch like onto a little guard. I would be, yep, go right ahead against Olajuwon, right? Like, and it's just hard. So Chamberlain, Olajuwon, I'm just gonna say my first pick was Steph Curry, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Larry Bird, Hakeem Olajuwon. Could that team function? Hell yeah, it could function. I think Hakeem is low maintenance and will clean up a lot of mistakes that maybe Steph would make. But defensively, we got one of the best wing defenders ever in Michael Jordan. We got LeBron James, who again in his prime was very tough to get by defensively and a good like blocker. Same for Michael Jordan, like one of the best guard blockers or maybe the best blocker as a guard ever. So you have Steph, and the funny thing is like Steph is kind of old now in his 30s, but I actually like this Steph in his 30s better than the younger one. I think he chokes less. I felt like early in his career, I felt like, especially in the plays, it felt like, where's this Steph? And it felt like he's being pushed around, getting a bit of muscle. So I like that Steph, and he's not that much of a pushover. I felt like he was, like that little babyface assassin Steph version. So I like kind of like the more beefier Steph Curry. I don't think he's going to be a pushover, especially if he can hand check a little bit. People are always saying like, oh, Steph would not function in these old eras because he would get beat up. Like he's going to get in the paint. Like he's out there on the three-point line. No, he's not going to get beat up. Well, he might get beat up. I get what you mean, like off screens and stuff. Like I think it was in the finals, one of the finals, the Lakers-Celtics finals, and James Worthy, like one of the final plays, was just both hands grabbing on to Larry Bird. And it was just like, the refs ain't calling that, right? Like, and he had to help, and that was why Larry was open. Yeah, if they would do stuff like that, that would probably be bad. But I think if you have Hakeem Olajuwon and Larry Bird send screens for you, that'll be pretty nice. So yeah, I really like this team offensively. In the clutch, I like it a lot. Again, because LeBron James' tendency is to pass in the clutch maybe, and we got some of the deadliest shooters. We got two of the most clutch players ever in Michael Jordan and Larry Bird. Again, who's going to take that last shot? But like, so you got mental toughness in Michael Jordan and Larry Bird, and Hakeem Olajuwon and like the still force. What I heard about him, I like that. And Steph Curry is just low maintenance. He's not selfish. He doesn't need like 100 shots. Steph is a bit sloppy with the ball. That's why I have LeBron in there. I actually had different versions. Well, let's just go to the other teams. I had different versions where LeBron wasn't in there. Simply that Larry Bird at small forward and have like a very athletic power forward, like a Kevin Garnett at power forward, who technically, of course, didn't win a Finals MVP, but I love Kevin so much. Having Olajuwon and KG would like defensively be probably better. Like, how would this fare with Larry Bird at power forward against some of the elite bigs in the past? I mean, I like the fight of Larry, right? Like, and he's pretty big, 6'10", I believe. So I think, especially as a post defender, he would do very well, kind of get deflections and stuff. And again, he moves the ball, right? Like, so we got a couple ball movers. LeBron James, he should be a little bit less ball dominant maybe in this lineup. I don't know. Run Steph off some screens and then get it to the screen, or even like Larry Bird or Hakeem. I like this team. I think it'll be fairly balanced. Okay, then I have my offensive all-time team. So first I'm going to go through a couple of all-time variants and then kind of see which one I like best. So let's just have this one, put it away. I have like a team B, an offensive-minded team. And again, I'm not talking about the best offensive players. I'm talking about still MVPs, finals MVPs, like great all-around players, but that are great but towards offense. Then I got Steph Curry, Michael Jordan, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Will Chamberlain. Yeah. I don't think we need a lot of argument here. Like it's stupid that like the second leading scorer Kareem isn't on here, right? But that's because you could what I read, I didn't watch them all live. I wasn't a kid, like I didn't see that much footage from them. But what I kind of saw researching is that most people would still say that Will Chamberlain was the more dominant player, like individually. Kareem maybe was a better leader. And actually, Kareem performed better in the playoffs. But I also wonder, like those early teams with Wilt, when it was like an 8-team league, and the Celtics were stacking the deck with like 6 or 8 Hall of Famers. I heard that they were just ganging up on him like crazy, right? Oh, let's see. Let's put this in the shade, man. This thing's getting hot. That's better. I hope. But to me. And that's kind of a little bit with that discussion with LeBron, and like everybody's like, LeBron is the all-time scoring leader. Is he now better than Michael Jordan? I never thought that accumulative points, like total points, was a good indication of somebody's like. It has, of course, it's some indication of somebody's scoring prowess. I mean, of course, but it's more an indication of your whether you're a great scorer that can last long. But to me, that's not being the best scorer, right? Like so, I always take. I like points per game. Of course, you got to adjust it a bit with pace and stuff, but I think points per game is a better kind of indication of like how dominant of a scorer somebody was. Well, Michael Jordan, 10 scoring titles. Again, for point guard, Steph's just special, right? Like offensively, just the range that he brings. Because what would other scoring point guards? I don't think there's another scoring point guard. And it's kind of like, is he a point guard? You know, like, does he play like a point guard? He plays more like a shooting guard, right? He runs off screens, doesn't handle the ball all the time, doesn't really play pick and roll all that much. Like, he's not the typical point guard. But yeah, Steph, Jordan, Kevin Durant. I don't think we need to explain this because Kevin Durant is just like, I'd have Larry Bird like in my best version because I think Larry Bird is just an all-around better player with the intangibles. Kevin gives you more athleticism, but Kevin gives you like just somebody who basically can't be guarded. And again, accounting for eras, I'm a little worried with Kevin. I mean, he's still super dominant, but you saw what the Celtics did to him a couple of years ago when it could get physical. But it's also, he was the focal point of that team. I think Kyrie was there, but was on the Ramadan, was fasting, was kind of like not really 100%. And they could kind of gang up on him with the entire team. So in this team, you can't, right? Like, so in this team, you can't gang up on Kevin Durant, so I'm not that afraid. Although, yeah, the stronger small forwards of the past, especially the older kind of small forwards, were kind of, they had like these big muscular guys, right? But to have Kevin at the 3 or the 4, I put LeBron at the 4 because he's stronger. Kevin is taller, but I put LeBron. I think LeBron can hold his own against a lot of bigs, right? So yeah, this is more offensively lined up. And man, this is just crazy. To have LeBron play pick and roll with Chamberlain, with Curry, Durant, and Jordan on the wing. I like it. Okay, defensive focused. I had a little difficult one here. Also somebody I want to sneak in that I technically can't sneak in with my rules. But at the point, I actually have Michael Jordan at the point. Michael Jordan played points for a short while under Doc Collins and actually racked up like 8 triple-doubles in like a couple of games. And Michael, because he played in that system, typical shoot guard system, he can't play like the superstars play now, right? Like, so basically now, so you're a superstar, oh, here's the ball in your hand, do whatever the hell you want. If Jordan played like that, like he basically showed if he were allowed to play like that, I don't think the whole, oh, LeBron James is such better all-around player would be a discussion. Because he kind of showed in a very short time that he was absolutely dominant as a point guard, getting his teammates involved, getting triple doubles, scored a little less, but still defensively, like a couple steals, like still, again, this is kind of my complaint of LeBron that has been kind of like on and off with his defense. But yeah, defensively, Michael Jordan at the point, I think he could keep up with most small guards. I guess like very fast small guards that would still be tough, but I like my chances with Mike there. Shooting guard, I was actually contemplating Jerry West, but he actually never won a MVP.
probably because he was in the land of the Giants back then. It was really hard to win an MVP as a little guy with some of the best bigs ever. But went Jerry West, but then technically I can, but just an honorable mention, so I went with Kobe. Kobe at the 2, then Kawhi Leonard at the 3. Also never won an MVP. So that's also kind of like the one I snuck in there. But with Kawhi, I'm like, you could say again, LeBron, but if I'm like leaning defense, I actually like, if it weren't for the injuries, I actually like Kawhi a lot also on my first team, like instead of a LeBron, and then have Magic instead of Curry, because you have more shooting. If you have Larry Bird and Kawhi. Sorry, I had a lot of these lineups going in my mind, kind of go through my mind. I actually like that, but here I like Kawhi. I'm gonna cheat. I don't care, because he was just such an absolute dominant defender, but he's also like a great offensive player, right? Like, so I could really see him, Michael, Kobe, and Kawhi on the wing. Then power forward, I have Bill Russell, and a center, I have Hakeem Olajuwon. Again, you could kind of be like, could I put Will Chamberlain then, just the sheer force of him, put him there, but Hakeem Olajuwon just showed such a versatility. Yeah, close to the basket, away from the basket. And I think when we talk about translating eras, I think Bill Russell would translate. I think Bill Russell would be like, it's kind of like denigrating to say he's like Rodman on steroids, but I hope you know what I mean. Like, he would do a lot more than Rodman, I think. But I think he, like, if I kind of like, I didn't see that much, but I saw him like run full court and jump over a guy. Like, he was super athletic. I think Bill Russell as a mobile power forward. So how would this all-time team be? Well, still got enough scoring. Like, Bill Russell's not really a scorer, but you need a ball mover. So you could be a screener, a ball mover in this team. Hakeem Olajuwon, again, selfless big man. I like him as a defensively. This is like, you're not scoring at all. Like, you're not scoring at all. Like, the problem I would have with this team is when you talk about, like, consider all the facets, is could players like, because it's interesting like having these in the same team, and like the next team is going to be the killers. So Michael Jordan and Kobe on the same team. Is that going to work? Right? Like, there's some sense to me that it's like, because what Kobe didn't like with Shaq, everyone's like, Kobe and Shaq, two alphas, couldn't make it work. But what Kobe didn't like about Shaq was that he wasn't as driven. He wasn't as focused, he wasn't as willing to grind. Well, Michael is willing to grind. So there's two scenarios. One scenario is Kobe can't handle Michael being better. Michael's better. Michael's just a better version of Kobe Bryant. And is going to chuck up a lot of bad shots on his team, right? Like, can he play within the team and the system if his teammates are actually super dominant, right? Like, can he be... Because even when he was in the Olympics, like, he was the alpha there. It wasn't Wade, it wasn't LeBron. Kobe was the alpha. And that final game against Spain, he was actually kind of started playing hero ball. Actually, almost kind of also, he hit a couple threes. I think, like, anyway, but actually also made it harder than it maybe had to be. So with Kobe, I'm like hard, like, because I mean he won his 2 championships also with Shaq, without Shaq, so he could coexist with another dominant player clearly, and he played with Pau, and he made Pau a better player. Pau was like a solid player, but only I think like maybe one All-Star when before he met Kobe, and just had a great versatile team. So like he kind of fit in, but he was still the alpha dog. So there's something in me that says this could go wrong. But that's the worst case scenario. But this is the best case scenario. To have somebody like Kobe Bryant, that is kind of exactly like Michael Jordan in his mindset, instead of like a Scottie Pippen that it felt like Michael had to pull Pippen up and toughen Pippen up, and Pippen became a great all-around player. But what if you have somebody that is actually pushing Michael every practice like crazy? Like, would Michael Jordan actually have been a better player by playing with Kobe Bryant on the same team, right? And same, would Kobe Bryant have become a better player by playing with Mike on the same team? Not just because they would create space for each other and all that stuff, if they also would move the ball, right? Like, so if we say not the worst case scenario and we say they decide to coexist, that's why I have Kawhi Leonard, low maintenance. We don't want LeBron on here. Not that LeBron could also match here, of course. And then you would have more of a ball mover. But here I'm like looking at Bill Russell for like the Draymond Green role a little bit. So let Bill Russell handle the ball at the kind of like the elbow. He was kind of that role, at least what I heard, like blocking shots, passing the ball up court. Like this would be a pretty fast team as well. But yeah, I like that idea of having Kobe Bryant and Michael go at it in practice, and then every game is like, I got worse in practice, right? Like, to have. I think yeah. So it could either go really wrong or it could go really, really, really well, and we could see an absolute lethal version of Michael Jordan and Kobe that we haven't even seen because of the way they pushed each other. Similar with Bill Russell, and then that's why what he brings like mentally. This is the first team I have him on, and that's why I moved to the next team, Team D, the Killers. To have the killer mindset, or the Crazies, to have like the mental toughness kind of team, or the crazy hype squad. I have Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Larry Bird, Kevin Garnett, and Bill Russell. And just to talk about Bill Russell, what I heard, that this guy was throwing up before every game because he got into such a frenzy to go win the game, right? Like, shit, this team is not like, again, you have the same kind of what if you have Michael and Brian on the same team. But here we have a Bill Russell, we have a Larry Bird as ball movers, we have Garnett and Russell sending dirty screens for people. I like this. Like, again, you have on this team you have like the Uber Alpha problem. Jordan, Bryant, and Bird on the same team, right? I think Bill Russell was in some sense an alpha, but clearly knew what his role was, even as the best player of his teams, setting up the rest. Like, I don't think Bill Russell will be a problem. Kevin Garnett, I don't think he'll be a problem either, like what he showed with the Boston Celtics. So again, this has a chance to become really self-destructive, but if they let their egos get in the way, but if they can coexist, this is like a mentally tough team. Like, they would eat you up. Like, they would be tough. Like, the defensive team would be like hard to score on. This team would actually also be really hard to score on with Michael, Kobe. Again, Bird might be a slight liability on the wing against some fast power forwards, like really like maybe like Kevin Durant and kind of like that. But I think against most power forwards, he would just be a solid defender. And with Kevin Garnett and Bill Russell behind you, I don't think you have to worry about that much. He could be a lot more aggressive. And I think that's the scary thing with, like, Michael played on, like, Kobe had a team with Shaq behind him. Shaq, at least from what I saw and heard, wasn't that great in the pick and roll, so that was kind of his weakness defensively, but it was like somebody's back there, right? And somebody's smacking you up. But here, like Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan was kind of like a risky defender, right? Like a very aggressive, kind of like offensive-minded defense, right? He was flying all over the court, looking for steals, getting blocks and stuff. If you have Kevin Garnett and Bill Russell behind you, that would just absolutely unleash Michael Jordan as a defender, right? Like, so, and even with the team C, the defensive team, right? Like Bill Russell and Hakeem, kind of same thing. To have Kobe and Michael and even Kawhi to be uber aggressive on defense because we got the paint. Ah, man, I don't know how you deal with that. So the killer team, I really like the killer team. Again, Kevin Garnett's on there. He's not maybe really the killer in the sense of like he would finish off at the end of the game, you know, kind of like that, like the uber winner. But he's the uber hype man, right? Like what everybody was talking about, talking trash, getting in everybody's head. And this is another like one of those scenarios. What if you have Kevin Garnett hyping up Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, and Kobe Bryant, right? Like the whole time, get that fucking shit, boy. That's you know, like that'll be. I think that'll be really good too. Okay, I have a couple of weirder lineups. Just quickly throw them out there. What if we just focus on shooting? Steph Curry, Michael Jordan, Kevin Durant, Dirk Nowitzki, and Nikola Jokic. So this is kind of like one of those blasphemy all-time lineups to have Jokic already in there. But I mean, he's got 2 straight MVPs, should have been 3, completely. Last playoffs, like he dominated like I haven't seen anybody dominate in a very, very, very long time. And I mean, and this includes LeBron to me. And that's maybe weird to say because LeBron was super dominant. But the way Jokic is dominating, it just looks like he's playing against toddlers. Like it's just, with LeBron, you could kind of have like, whoa, what a difficult shot. Whoa, he does that like and one and roll, you know, like that. And sometimes he was starting to make tough shots and stuff, get his teammates involved. But with Jokic, it looks like he's not really even trying. It doesn't look with Jokic, yeah, those crazy like one-legged fling fadeaways, they were crazy shots. But a lot, like to me, 80, 90% of what he does looks like he could do that every play. Like it doesn't look like a spectacular play. Like it's spectacular and just because it looks so simple. Anyway, that's just kind of my argument for him. Like you could go into the advanced statistics and everybody like what he does for his team. Like, and this team would be a lot of fun because Jokic would basically be the point guard. Jokic at point as the big setting up. They have Nowitzki, Durant, Michael, and Steph. This is a crazy shooting barrage, right? Like and then Michael's not the funny thing is when I was thinking about shooting, and you think about complement these teams with shooters, basically Steph is the only one. There are no, like I looked at the top 20 best three-point shooters, like best percentage. Only 2 of them, Steph and Steve Nash, are actually like all-around players, like all-around dominant MVP players. Like I don't know where Reggie and Allen are in the top 20. And of course, they were all-around players, but just never quite in that dominant category to be an MVP. So it's interesting. So that's why I have Michael, even though he's not a great three-point shooter, he's like an average three-point shooter. And again, if you translate to eras, Michael was around the average for his era. He's kind of similar to what Kobe Bryant's putting up, and actually similar to what LeBron is putting up. So he'd be fine in this era. If he could shoot 5 threes a game and he would work on that, I think he'll up his percentage a little bit. I think he'd just be just like an average three-point shooter right now. I don't think he'd be like a super dominant three-point shooter. I don't think he'd need to be. But I think on his team still, as a shooter, he's still one of the greatest mid-range shooters ever. This would be a very fun team, very offensive-minded. Defensively, yeah, this team is a little challenged. So this probably wouldn't be one of the teams that will make the cut. That's why I think I'm going through them fast. Defensively, this would be, a little bit more swish. Now, Michael Jordan's a good defender. Kevin Durant is athletic, but he ain't shutting anybody down, I would say. Same for Nowitzki, Jokic. Jokic, solid defender, I would say, position-wise, but he needs a athletic big beside him. Ball movers. The ultimate ball mover team. Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan. Funny to say Michael Jordan, but he still has like 5 assists or something like for his career. The funny thing is actually, you know what guard had more assists? Didn't have a Finals MVP, but had an MVP? Allen Iverson. But like I don't know, like 0.2 or 0.5 more. It's pretty much the same, but like slightly more. Of course, James Harden has a whole lot of assists as a shooting guard, but I can't stomach it to put James Harden on any all-time. I mean, that guy, I ain't putting him on any all-time. Like he's dribble. How much shot clock we got left? 8 seconds left. Dribble. How much seconds do we have left? Dribble. Some more seconds. Dribble. Okay, step back. I mean, he made him, but I hated that style of play. I didn't like it at all. It was like taking the LeBron James heliocentric offense to the next level. It didn't look like great basketball to me. Like, I am the system, like he says. And just his attitude, choking in the play, like, nah, just that attitude, I can't have that. I can't have that on an all-time team. So still, ball movers, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Larry Bird, Nikola Jokic. I actually really like this team. Like, again, defensively, Jordan and James are athletic. Bird is solid. Magic's probably a liability here, but he's big. You could maybe actually scoot everybody up, let Larry guard the small forward, let Magic guard a slower power forward. Michael the point, LeBron the shooting guard. You could actually do that. This team is really, really dangerous in everybody wanting to get everybody involved. So, like, if you talk about attitude, would this really work? This would probably maybe be a team to have like bum. It could be like that, right? Like this team. Although that's the thing with ball movers. Like I see Larry and Magic kind of. To me, LeBron has always been kind of a little bit too ball dominant. And again, that's for the other video, but like it actually felt like he became the system, and that actually kind of broke the teams. Like when he left, everybody was always like, "Oh, look at how good LeBron is because he leaves the team." But it's because they were not playing in the system. Like the reason why the Bulls could kind of keep going without Michael, because they were playing a system, and Michael was playing a role, a great role. But then that system could kind of keep on rolling, and LeBron just kind of was the system. It was just kind of like him looking for shooters, and that's why I also felt like at the end of his tenures at all these teams, it always felt like everybody was kind of drained. I don't know if that is. I'm just looking at it on camera, but like the last year with the Heat, the last year with the Cavs, everybody just kind of felt like, especially with the Heat, it kind of felt like. And then people would say like, "Yeah, Wade is a bust now." Like, no, he's not. Like, it to me, it felt like that system just became too predictable and too good for his own sake in a sense. Like LeBron having the ball all the time. Anyway, this would still be great ball movers. You could have like, that's hard to take LeBron James out as a great forward, but you could put Larry and Bill Russell as a bomb, like Russell as like on the elbow, would clear it up, shore it up defensively a bit. I like the Jokic kind of things, because it's just, to me, like, he would thrive in any era, like, because he can play old school, back to the basket, and just take people out. Of course, he doesn't have as many dominant bigs opposed to him, but like he has people like Anthony Davis made him look like like a chair. Right? And Anthony Davis, I mean, even though he's a little brittle, he's a dominant defensive player, right? Like, all right, next team. I'm probably not going to make it as the final all-time team. Low maintenance. The low maintenance superstar teams. Steph Curry, Michael Jordan. Is Michael Jordan low maintenance? Well, in this team he is, because he's the alpha. Kawhi Leonard, Tim Duncan, Hakeem Olajuwon. This is a team that would function great, especially in the old eras. Tim Duncan, Hakeem Olajuwon. Defensively, would you keep up with the newer age and like the faster power forward space in the court? Timmy has shown to be really old and still function pretty well in at least part of this era when he was like 38, but as the center. So the question is basically, can Hakeem play power forward well enough for this to function in our era, in this era? I actually really like this team. Like, it might actually be the best. Like, Tim Duncan, so unselfish, one of the best defensive bigs. Again, low maintenance, just not a lot of flaws, right? Like, and again, the Chamberlain situation is always like, I think he translates really well. But then you can kind of get the headbutt. Like, I wonder how, if there was another reason that he didn't fit in, right? Like, so he won championships later on, and then you see his scoring just kind of plummet a little bit. I don't wonder. He was super dominant. I think in all these places you could just put, I mean, even with ball movers, I mean, he led the league in assists as a center, like, right? Like Chamberlain. You could just put Chamberlain in there. It's just kind of hard, like, okay, fast break three, best fast break three: Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Will Chamberlain. Will Chamberlain, what I heard, was one of the, like, he was running track and stuff. This team is actually super fun. It would be challenged as in there's barely any 3-point. There's actually no 3-point shooting on this team at all. So again, if you play before the 3-point line, those type of eras, or even the early 80s, this team would smack the shit out of a lot of people. Giannis, LeBron, it would be big and strong. Like, Michael is the smallest at 6'6". You have a 6'10" guard. Giannis is like, what, 6'11"? I don't know. LeBron James, a power forward playing small forward, and Chamberlain, again, this is a team that has too many flaws, I'd say, offensively to be the best all-time team. If you think about this all-time team has to be also, in some sense, the most versatile team. Of course, you don't have to be. If you're just dominant, you're dominant. And, I mean, I still would like to see people stop this. Even if they don't space out to the 3-point line and they just space out to the mid-range, like, I mean, but it's just too little shooters. Like, Michael's basically the only outlet that you pass to the shoot. LeBron's not really doing catch and shoot a lot, and Magic Johnson either. So I would think that team would, in some sense, would have those flaws, but it'd be fun to see in the fast break, though. Everybody runs like crazy. Couple of the greatest athletes. So now we get to, what am I settling in for the all-time one? I have one team that I want to throw out here, like a couple teams that are interesting. Steph Curry, Michael Jordan, Kevin Durant, Kevin Garnett, and Jokic. This was a variant, I think, of the offensive teams. like the best offensive team. But I still wanted to make it work defensively because you could put LeBron at the 4, right? Kevin Durant, Kevin Garnett. But if you have Jokic there, you need an athletic big. So I had Kevin there. So this team would still be really, really good offensively. But with Jokic, I think it would put it on steroids. Like to have Jokic, to give Jokic, Garnett, Durant, Jordan, and Curry. Right? And that athletic big, again, could be a Chamberlain. I mean, he's playing well with Aaron Gordon now. Could be a Chamberlain. Could be a Hakeem. I like the Jokic one because of what he brings. Because he's unique, right? Like it's tough to already put him there, right in that top 10 with all those epic ones. And again, you come to this weird point that I want to acknowledge that I have Kareem in none of these teams. I have Shaq in none of these teams. And this is just what's really hard when you make all-time teams. Again, when you consider the idea of them having to play in all eras. So Kareem, of course, offensively, crazy. Like, I mean, that first team I had, Steph Curry, Michael Jordan, LeBron, Larry Bird, put Kareem there. Yeah, I mean, Kareem was also a very, very good defensively. But I just can't see Kareem defend the pick and roll like a Hakeem could, for example. Like I don't see Jokic doing either. Like, so that's why you're kind of hesitant to put him there unless you have that athletic big there to kind of compensate for that. That could basically play on the perimeter like a Kevin Garnett. Or, again, I for some reason feel like a Bill Russell would translate. But yeah, I do also like the Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Larry Bird, and then Chamberlain or Olajuwon. I do like that a lot as well. So Shaq, why no Shaq? So again, Hakeem Olajuwon, why I also have him over Chamberlain is the free throws. Like this team, again, LeBron James would kind of be somewhat of a liability for free throws, but he's passing in the clutch anyway in this team. So yeah, I don't know. It's just hard. Like Steph Curry brings this unique factor to a team that makes it hard to pass up on him when you have a great playmaker. Like if Magic is a 10, then LeBron is like a 8.5 or a 9. And it's basically like, do I really need the 10, right? When I have these type of scores? But maybe it would unleash, right? Like so these people. So another one is, this would be, again, the defensive, like you get your problem have if you, I want Magic and Larry basically on it. But your problem is that defensively, if you talk about like all-time teams, defensively that would already be too many not really that great defenders, right? Like, especially if you also have Steph Curry on there. Because that would be interesting. Steph Curry, Michael Jordan, you let Larry Bird play the small forward, and you let Magic play power forward, but he's basically playing point, but you put him at the power forward defensively, and then have a athletic big like Olajuwon or something in the center. That would be a real fun team to watch. But you would only have Michael Jordan as a stopper on the perimeter. Again, Larry Bird, I think, can hold his own, but he's not going to really lock anybody down. And you have Olajuwon, of course. And then Magic, yeah, he's still big. I mean, he's 6'10" when he plays power forward, but he won't cut it against the smaller ones, right? Like so. And so that's the thing with Shaq defensively. Again, like offensively, if I wanted like a pure uber domination team, so like on the offensive one, but there I have Wilt instead of him, because to me it's still hard to. Although Shaq had far better numbers in the playoffs than Chamberlain, which to me is strange. That's what, like with Chamberlain, what's mind-boggling. You look at his regular season stats, look at the PER and all that stuff. I think, did I have PER right here? I think Chamberlain is still like crazy high. Wilt Chamberlain, where are you? But he had like a huge drop-off of PER, like in the playoffs. So his regular PER would be one of the highest. Let's see, sorted. One of the highest at 26. But Shaq's actually ahead of him in PER. But again, they didn't count blocks for Chamberlain and stuff, right? Like, so if you had steals and blocks, I think Chamberlain would be like, whoop, somewhere up there. But this is huge drop-off. He goes from like 26.16 to 22. It's like in this list, and I took like the top 20 top 20 players PER, the top 20 PER career, and top 20 PER players in the playoffs, and then kind of only took the players that were not only, almost only that were in both, at least the best that kind of remained. I have 16 of them. And like Chamberlain had like the biggest drop off of all of them. After that, David Robinson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Kevin Durant, Magic Johnson, they were all negative. They all went down in the playoffs. Chris Paul, Stephen Curry actually went down as well. Then you have Barkley and Anthony Davis. And then like if you go at the top, who's at the top? Kareem is at the top. And then Hakeem is at the top. He actually kind of upped his game the most. Then Jokic, again, why I'm contemplating having Jokic, he's just crazy dominant. He's actually the most dominant one. If you just look at playoff PER, he's actually like the most dominant one, like almost by far. Nah, he's like 0.4, 0.6 up on Michael Jordan. Last playoff PER, Nikola Jokic, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Anthony Davis. Did anybody say that coming? Shaquille O'Neal. So there's something to say for Shaq because of his sheer dominance, right? Like, but again, when I look at versatility and I look at defense, I could do that if I have an athletic power forward. I would say, like, if I have like a Kevin Garnett next to Shaq, so somebody who can also space the floor a little bit. So that's why I kind of have Olajuwon in a lot of these lineups, because he was kind of a good mid-range shooter, and I don't know how he would translate to this era, but I wouldn't be surprised if he would be if he could become like a decent three-point shooter. And Wilt Chamberlain actually, as opposed to Shaq, like Chamberlain was stronger than Shaq, like as in actual strength, like not weight, but like what stories you hear about him from Arnold Schwarzenegger. That was just crazy. So it's tough. Like Shaq was in the playoffs way more dominant. It looked like Wilt, and then it's kind of like I want some context. Like I don't know. I saw these weird playoff lines of him having like 40 something, 38, and then 10. You're like, what? And he only had 6 shots in a game, or 8 shots in a game. I'm like, what? Like, how did Chamberlain only have 8 shots in a game? Like sometimes he would have 10 assists or stuff, but still. What happened there, right? Like, so I don't know, like when people look back at James Harden, the stats won't tell all the story. They will tell a lot still, the choke, but what you feel on the screen, that's kind of different, right? So, I don't know, Shaq, so that's Shaq, but Chamberlain just, you'd see him shoot fadeaways and stuff, right? Like, so it's not just that he was just dunking over people. Some people are like, yeah, it's because everybody was little. Well, why didn't the other 7-footers average 50 in that era? Because there weren't maybe that much, but there were other 7-footers. And like one of the most elite defensive big men was in that era. If it was so easy, if it was just because he was 7 foot, like why didn't they completely dominate like him, like he did? Like he had to be really good. And you hear like these crazy street ball stories when he was like 40 or 50 blocking everybody, you know, like, so it felt like he's like a game breaker. So that's why I'm going for Will over Shaq. But yeah, Shaq is in a different way, like especially in our modern era, like a complete beast of a player. And that's why I said it's so hard with these centers. So I often tend to go for versatility with like somebody with like Hakeem, simply because I can see it, like I can picture it that he could be that big that thrives in all eras. And with Kareem, is he a little bit too goofy, like too long and not nimble enough? Although in his prime he was also very fast, right? Like, so it's just hard with these centers, man. Chamberlain, Kareem, Hakeem. Okay, Bill Russell kind of falls out of that boat because he's just like offensively he's lacking so much, like because he was so good, he was very good defensively for what we know, but when you're, so that's why I'm often don't have him on one of these teams until I get to these replacement teams, which I like, kind of like the idea. So like I start with like the best 95-96 Chicago Bulls. Ron Harper, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, Luke Longley. How could we upgrade this team? Well, we're keeping Michael, of course. MJ. So, Scottie Pippen. What did Scottie Pippen bring? Elite defense and some playmaking. So you can lean both ways. You could say, I want to lean into the defense of Scottie Pippen, then I would have somebody like Kawhi here. Even though he doesn't have a regular season MVP, I would have somebody like Kawhi. If you say you lean more into the playmaking, you get to somebody like LeBron, of course, who, again, in his prime was also a very good defensive player for maybe 4 years or something like that. Like, I don't know, I felt always like, didn't see the same kind of fire that I saw in like an MJ or like a Kobe. So, if I'm going defense, I have Kawhi. Ron Harper, defensive-minded guard, could score a little bit. It'll be hard not to pick somebody like Jerry West or Kobe, right? Like, and again, Kobe, can they coexist? That, again, with that killer lineup, Kobe, Jerry West, they're both killers, right? Like defensively, maybe Jerry West was also like a crazy defensive player. I think actually a lot more steals. And actually played the points in his career. I'll actually like West. I'm gonna pick West here. Dennis Rodman, I like to replace him with Bill Russell. Russell, Luke Longley, Chamberlain. Could Chamberlain do what Longley was doing? I think he could, right? Like, that's just unfair, right? Like, I mean, you already have Russell, so again, Hakeem is tempting because he brings a bit more shooting. But again, Chamberlain had that fadeaway jumper. I'd be Chamberlain. This team, it'll help you kind of think in different ways about a team, like an all-time team, if you kind of replace roles. Jerry West, Michael Jordan. This team might need some more playmaking still, maybe LeBron then. No, I like what the Bulls did with the elite defense. No, I gotta stay with Kawhi. And I mean, he still gets a couple assists a game. He's no Pippen, but on that end, I would say. Jerry West, MJ, Kawhi, Bill Russell, and Chamberlain. Two icons. Yeah, a lot of icons. Jerry West, MJ, Russell, and Chamberlain. Almost all icons that we have. Yeah, I like Misa like a lot. Do I like it more than my starting lineup? Steph Curry, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Larry Bird, Hakeem Olajuwon. I really like Kawhi as well. I like, again, if you talk about balance, not just offense, defense. This has offense, defense. Jerry West, I think, would be an excellent three-point shooter in our era. Kawhi shoots the three pretty good. We have three great pro-step players: Michael Jordan, Kawhi, and Chamberlain. And what I like about this team is it has more defined roles. Like Russell can just do all defense. Can just be like a Dennis Rodman on steroids, right? Like pass the ball, get the ball up the court, block, boom, get that fast break going with West and MJ, Chamberlain running. I really like that. Offensively, I like, in some sense, it's really weird that Russell doesn't need the ball offensively. And that's something you can maybe sometimes overlook. You'll be like, oh, look at all these great scores. But then you have to think about how did they play, right? Like these teams with Kobe and Mike. Again, Michael played in the triangle. Kobe also played in the triangle, but it felt like Kobe was still chucking up a lot of bad shots. Would he still have that habit? Would he pass the ball around more to his open players, right? Like there's these little things that are hard to think about. Same with LeBron. Very, very good. But would he turn, like what I saw with the Heat, like Bosch was a super dynamic scorer when he was in Toronto, and he basically became a spot-up catch-and-shoot player. And that's basically because of the way that LeBron played. And what I liked about the next team we're going to talk about, the Golden State Warriors, 2016-2017, because they had a system and they were moving around, actually Steph, Klay, and Durant could all, I think, average more than 20 points. Because the way they played, right? You can't just say replace Durant with LeBron and it would work as well, even though LeBron's a great player, or replace Thompson with Kobe Bryant, right? Like so that's why I like the idea of Jerry West having played a little bit more point, combo guard, still super elite shooter, can take over when he needs to. Not that it is really necessary on this team, but I feel like you would have more defined roles. I think Kawhi being low key, he played that role in San Antonio really, really well. Just focus on defense a lot, still be a great elite scorer on offense. And Chamberlain has shown to be able to fit in multiple, either be the super dominant scorer or be just basically, like I say, take 8 shots a game and then just hand out 10 assists. So I really like that team. I might even like it more in some sense. I still like my original team. LeBron James setting up Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, Steph Curry. But again, that kind of problem, I have this fear of LeBron making, this is stupid, because it feels like he makes role players really good because they get a lot of open shots. And he played with Kyrie, right? But I felt like Wade. I think like a lot of players playing with LeBron, in some sense, don't really become better versions of themselves, but they become like more one-dimensional versions of themselves. So I actually like this team a lot, and that's, I guess, because of that super ball dominant. And I don't really like LeBron off ball a lot, and I do like Michael off ball. Kawhi, right? Like, so that's something to think about when constructing these teams. I like Bird off ball. So again, Larry Bird with LeBron James, it was kind of like, it was hard, like to have somebody like Kevin Durant, even though to me LeBron is clearly the greater player. Switch him with Kevin Durant, let Michael do some of the passing, have him play a system like the triangle, or okay, sorry, Golden State Warriors, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant. Okay, we're keeping Curry. Okay, I'll give Durant this. He'll get to stay on his own team. Klay Thompson. Again, like I said, what makes this team work as well is elite three-point shooting on all three perimeter spots, right? But again, there's no other elite three-point shooter that is an MVP candidate. So we're settling for Michael Jordan. Curry, Jordan, Durant, Draymond Green. Again, I'd like Bill Russell for this role. All-around defensive guy, handing off, sending screens. Zaza Pachulia, yeah, you kind of come to the same thing. Put Chamberlain there. And I like, again, Chamberlain, you can't really go wrong a lot with, like, so, because Chamberlain played these different roles in his life, I have more confidence putting somebody like Chamberlain or Hakeem, also because of the ego thing. Again, on this team, when I put Shaq here, are Shaq and Jordan going to clash? Right? Like, if Kobe and Shaq were going to clash, I think Shaq and Jordan are going to clash. Because Jordan was the same, right? I think Jordan would not be able to handle that, just eating hamburgers all the time, and then coming back, still dominating that, right? But like that mindset, I don't think he could do that. That's why I think like a Jordan would love to play with somebody like a Russell. Like, I think still then a Kobe, if Kobe could accept that little A1, A2, like. Anyway, Curry, Jordan, Durant, Russell, Chamberlain. I'm more persuaded, or again, you could put Hakeem there, but I think Chamberlain can fulfill Zaza Pachulia's role really well. Set bruising screens. Again, can you have somebody just take that role? And I think Chamberlain has shown himself completely changed from like a 50-point scorer to being like a 10 assist guy to being like a low scorer later on in his career, winning that championship with the Lakers. And then you could still have that same system. Russell and Chamberlain are screening the hell out of Durant and Curry and Jordan. And again, what I saw Jordan, and that's I think what he did better than Kobe as well, playing off the ball. Like Jordan had a higher field goal percentage, I think, because he took better shots than Kobe Bryant. You could say he's a better shooter, but I also think he took better shots. So I also like this team. Jordan, Curry, Durant, Russell, Chamberlain. Let's go. Let's do maybe like one or two more. Like I have the Milwaukee Bucks, 71 Milwaukee Bucks here. The Los Angeles Lakers, 71, 72. Lakers, Jerry West. You kind of get the same team. I think you're going to get a similar team as the Bulls. You have Jerry West at the point, Gail Goodrich, Elgin Baylor. This is like one of these guys I can't put in. Like if you look at Elgin Baylor's stats, he never won an MVP or an Finals MVP. He never won a ring. Like I think he got injured in that year that he actually won the championship. This team, he was on the team and he got injured like early on. But I'm gonna just look it up for the young guns. I'm a young gun too, but anyway. Elgin Baylor career stats. Come on, baby. Give me an average. He's averaging, my man, 27 points per game, 4.3 assists, 13.5 rebounds on 43% shooting. This is before the three-point era. This is like the prototype power forward, right? Like this is a super dominant guy. If we look at playoffs, he's still 27, 4 assists, 13 rebounds. Field goal percentage stays about the same. Pretty clutch. doesn't really drop. Hey, this was a really good player as well. It's hard that he kind of slips through the cracks. I mean, you hear Michael Jordan talking about him. I never played against Jerry West, Elgin Baylor. Like, he knows. And I know he had like one of the high-scoring finals games, right? Like 61 points. Still somehow only averaged 26 points in the finals with that 61 game. Anyway, Elgin Baylor, probably going to be replaced by LeBron James, I would say. The prototype power forward. It's hard not to go with LeBron James in that scenario. LeBron, Jerry West, Gail Goodrich, Michael Jordan. This is the one thing I have. Michael Jordan's on all these teams. And it'd just be really hard not to have him on there. Like, who else would you, like, people say Kobe, but Kobe is just, to me, a worse version of Michael Jordan. I think the only other shooting guard that you could have, somebody like Jerry West, I think. It's just hard not to have Jordan. I think a lot of these power forward, like small forwards, like a Durant, would be too not nimble enough to play the shooting guard, right? You could say, could LeBron play shooting guard? Have a team like that, like LeBron, Durant, and Bird, and not have Michael and Curry? You could, but would you want to? Like, I don't know. To me, you would always want Michael Jordan. To me, he's the best player. Yeah, like, I get what you mean. Like, again, if you talk about chemistry, talk about Michael sharing the court with four other, I think Michael, when you look at those teams, I think what made him the greatest is also like the double teams. Like, he's the one getting double teamed. I mean, everybody was like, not until Pippen came, he won. If you look at Pippen's averages, like, Michael Jordan was the offensive focal point of that team all the time. He had to be all the time, and he delivered. And nobody actually kind of did that like him, right? But I also think that Michael Jordan wanted that, right? Like, so it would be easy to say, well, what if Michael Jordan had more talent? What if he had a Shaq? What if he had, like, I wonder, looking at the personality of Michael Jordan, would Michael Jordan have been able to handle that, right? Like, in some sense. I mean, he wants to win, but he does have that I want to win as well, right? Like, he wants to be that most. This is the same, like, can Kobe and Jordan coexist, or would they amplify each other? That is kind of a thing that you could wonder about, like having Michael Jordan on an all-time team, and then say something like, yeah, no, I'm taking a Jerry West, LeBron at the shooting guard, taking a Durant, selfless superstar, like he fits in everywhere, and then like a Bird and Chamberlain. Would that team actually be better because you didn't have like that very, very dominant guy that wanted to have the ball? Like, I don't know. Still going with Michael. Jerry West, Jordan, LeBron, Happy Hairston. Never heard of that guy. I'm sorry, buddy. Chamberlain gets to stay on that team. And then you would have, I don't know. I don't even know what Happy Hairston's play style was. I keep coming back to Garnett a lot. Like, no MVPs. No finals MVPs. So, again, I'm kind of cheating. But I just like the defense, the mindset, kind of like the toughness, the craziness, and having super versatile, kind of like talented guy who could bring the ball to the court if you need to, who could have that mid-range, I like Garnett here. But again, next to Chamberlain, you could have somebody like, even Dirk, right? Like, would be a great, could be a great fit. I'm not going to go on these other teams. Like, maybe the 85, 86 Boston Celtics, Dennis Johnson, Danny Ainge, Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish. You kind of get that similar lineup, like defensive guard, Michael Jordan, shooter, Steph Curry, Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, great postal player. Put Hakeem there, Robert Parrish, just a big guy with a little jumper. Put Chamberlain there. I like Hakeem and Chamberlain on the same team as well, and that would be a pretty dominant team as well. Well, I think I'm at the end. It's still hard. I made one full team, so maybe I end with that one. Again, it's really hard to, if I go back to my original team, Steph Curry, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Larry Bird, Hakeem Olajuwon, or Will Chamberlain. Yeah. It's still, what I still kind of have with Larry at the, there's still this like, you want your team to kind of be like the elite defense, elite offense, all over the court, right? You'd want that the most in some sense. That's why I really kind of like the killer team. that still has business. Bill Russell. If you would play for Bill Russell with Hakeem, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Larry Bird, Kevin Garnett, and Hakeem, or I like that. I like that. Again, you could replace Kobe with West if you think maybe it won't work. I think West and Michael. I don't know. It's tough, but like defensively, that's always the tough thing. But like if you would have a full team, so you could kind of have the best of all worlds, I would start with that lineup of Steph Curry, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Larry Bird, Hakeem Olajuwon, and I gotta have Magic Johnson. Again, it kills me not to have Magic Johnson in a lot of these lineups, but it's just the shooting and the. You could play Magic if you have do Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Kevin Durant instead of LeBron James, Larry Bird, Hakeem Olajuwon. I might actually like that more. Low maintenance in Durant. Magic Johnson dominates the ball in a different way than LeBron does. It's a bit less versatile defensively. Anyway, my full team was Steph Curry, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Larry Bird, Hakeem Olajuwon, Magic Johnson, first guy off the bench, Kobe Bryant, Kevin Durant, and here we get to the blasphemy. I have Kevin Garnett over somebody like Bill Russell because of his offensive versatility. I have Jokic here simply because Jokic is just, he's like the key that fits every, you could put so many lineups around this guy with these people that would be absolutely dominant. Like he creates such a unique type of mismatch. Like even with Shaq in the paint, and Chamberlain, they were, of course, Chamberlain averaging 50 points and stuff like of course he's a mismatch, right? But the way Jokic create mismatches is way different because he could just take him out to the 3-point line. He could go be the pick and roll player, or he could still go set the pick and be in the high post, and he's really good in the post, fundamentally sound, he doesn't. So it also feels like he could last long. He's a lot less athletic. Feels like blasphemy, but he actually has an MVP more than Shaq. So anyway, Jokic, and then off the bench, and then the final two are really hard. Chamberlain and O'Neal are kind of fighting for a spot, and I think I'd still go with a Chamberlain. Then I don't have that many bigs, so I was contemplating having Kawhi Leonard as an absolute lockdown wing defender to have and with Chamberlain, Olajuwon, and Garnett be I have the versatility defensively also in the paint, and to not have somebody like a Bill Russell. Again, Kareem is getting left out because I feel like what Wilt's given me and Hakeem's given me a little less offense maybe, but better defense, I think. Chamberlain has given me just more dominance overall. But maybe if you would go steady, then you would have Kareem here. It would be weird to say have him be the 12th player on your all-time team. It's difficult. Kareem. Kareem and Kawhi. It's a lot of fun to talk about this stuff. Probably nobody's here after an hour and 8 minutes. But anyway, I like talking about these all-time teams. Yeah, man, so I like that experiment of having Michael and Kobe amp each other up with a Garnett. I like the idea Larry Bird and Michael Jordan on the same team. Have LeBron set him up. Yeah, I like basketball. Thanks for hanging around.